I'd wrap up my year on Alton, what with my operation coming up shortly to remove my cancerous left kidney. Going to take me out of the equation for a few months, but I'll be back, I can assure you. In this video, there's a few photos of some nice fish that I've had along the way. A couple of unexpected carp, tench in the middle of February, and a few nice bream, and of course the beautiful landscape and scenery that you get at Alton. Also, there's a few rig videos about the ground bait that I use, the way I put it out, the actual hook rigs and bait combinations that I use, and so on and so forth. In case you haven't seen any of the previous ones, hope you enjoyed. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share, get my message out there. It's going to be a long journey for me, but the gloves are off and I'm coming out the other side fighting. I'm feeling very positive. I've got about 8 days to go before my op, so speak to you soon, guys. So I don't know if you can see this. Rod's only been out there about half hour. Lovely bream. Middle of the day as well. I'm hoping you're getting this. That's a nice fish in the middle of the day, good condition. Right. Let's get her out, have a closer look at her. Let's pick my other rod up with it. Obviously not a bream, as you can see. Everything with it. As well. Right, that's going to take some untangling. So at 6 o'clock in the morning, I was actually just going to have the last cup of coffee before packing up. This beautiful creature over the net. Absolutely beautiful. I put up a scrap, try to go in every tree nearby. Oh, absolutely lovely. Oh. Right. There we go. How's that for timing? Put the video on. The first fish of the night. Kettle's on. I'm going to have to try and turn that off. Feels like a decent fish. It's massive, but pull him back a bit. Go around the side of that tree. Caught in the edge of that tree. Let's get a run hooked. Second fish in the space of 10 minutes. Let's have a look at this. Nice solid fish, as you can see. Nice and thick. Great condition as always in here. Lovely fish. Happy with that. Thought I was going to blank and see fish in 10 minutes. About 3:30. Enough decent fish. Absolutely slammed to the top. Standing out in front of me this way, fighting. Looking like though. He's fighting now. I think it's as big as the previous one, but certainly a decent fish. Just tying the new rig because I've had a few beats, gone halfway up without nailing the fish, and obviously I didn't take the new rig. Well, that's not bad, you know. Oh boy, I love it. Let's get that way, see what that is. Right, I'll show you the fish in a tick. First light, as you can see, this lovely creature, very good condition. Not one of the new fish, one of the older fish came to the net. It's my 5th bream during the night. The others have been a bit smaller than this. This is the best one so far. The tench are there, but I've been getting liners all night. So let's get her back, get the kettle on, see if I can catch a tench. Maybe, if I'm going to get one first light. 30, still only 2 degrees. This came as a bit of a surprise. I switched to a pellet with the Dendrobina. Was out there about 10 minutes and off she went. Put up a proper scrapper, I can tell you. Beautiful colours, lovely thick solid fish. Let's turn around, get a proper look at her. Oh, lovely looking fish. Turn around, I don't want to keep her out of the water too long. So, have a look at the other side. A couple of little marks, lovely colours though. Put up a proper scrap. Let's get her back, see what else is out there. Speak to you soon. First fish of the session. We've got a decent bream, that's for sure. It's about 3 hours to get a bite. I hope you're able to see this. Well, I think it's a bream. It's pretty solid, that's for sure. Yeah, it's a bream, I think. Good size, I reckon. Haven't seen it yet. Right hand side. It's back in front of me now. Yeah, that's a good fish. Blimey, that's a good fish. See this. Blimey, that's a good first fish. Happy with that. There we go. Right, let's get her unhooked. A few people have asked me over the last couple of weeks about my ground bait mix, and in particular what I'm putting in it, but more importantly how I managed to hold the balls together and catapult them 16 rod lengths, 12 rod lengths, whatever, out without them breaking up. And trust me, we've all been there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through my mix and how I mix it, what I put in it, and the way I stop it from breaking up. So the first thing that goes in are some of these cell micro pellets. You can see they're really quite small, maybe a couple of mil, and I've got a good sprinkling of them in. The next thing that goes in are some of these tiny little fish meal pellets, and they are tiny. You can see they're 1.5 mil, 1 mil, really small. As the water starts to warm up and the fish become more aggressive, then I start upping the size of the pellets that I'm feeding, but I never ever go much above 4 mil. Last thing I want to do is fill them up with my free offerings, and then they turn their nose up at what I've got on my hook. This way they'll graze, for want of a better term, and then they'll come across my hook bait and hopefully think, oh, it's a bit more substantial. Again, good handful of those go in. Next thing that goes in is some sweet corn, Lidl's. It's absolutely brilliant. I don't strain it off, I just put it straight in with the juice. Really good sized corn, and I'm just going to put the majority of that in, just keep a little bit back for my hook bait to go on with my worm. Then I'll put some Some of this I get them from Dean's Tackle in Clacton, and they do a lot of this, the micro pellet, this bloodworm ground bait, which again adds a little bit of colour to it, a little bit of flavour. And I found they like the bloodworm pellet and they like the bloodworm ground bait over here, but you don't want too much. I mean, that you can see in the bottom there, that's how much I'm going to put in. So that's going to all go in. I've got a spare bag in case I need to top my bait up. Next thing that goes in, again from Clacton Angling Centre, Dean's Tackle it is, right in the high street, just behind where the amusements are. Good shop, nice people, good gear, sensible prices. Black crumb. I want to try and darken my ground bait down a little bit so it matches the bottom. I'm in a new area, as I said earlier, and it's quite silty on the bottom and quite black, and the surrounding area is quite muddy. And the last thing I want is to have a really pale ground bait, because I think on a big predator water like this, and believe me, there's some enormous pike in here, I think the fish are, they've grown up being scared that they're going to get eaten by a pike. So swimming over a really pale area of ground bait means they stand out like a sore thumb, and something in their psyche shies them away from it. So whether this is actually works like this, because obviously fish don't think the same as we do, I'm not really sure. But for me, it's just about taking care of those little edges of what might be, what might spook them, what might scare them, and whether it's because they don't want to swim over that light area because they're going to be seen by a pike and attacked by a pike, or whether they're just uncomfortable, or whether it just stands out too much. Anyway, a good amount of that's going to go in. So it's about a third of a bag, and that's a kilo bag there. And then the most important one for me is this Cop Doc Mill uh, protein plus tension bream. This has got so many good ingredients in it. There's a bit of tiny little bit of LT94, some Crevimi 66 in there. I think they call LT94 Grimsby 94 now. Bit of crumb. Just it just works, and it binds really well. So there's a good amount of that. Um, Nearly half a bag going in now of that. You can see I'm down there. So probably about a third of a bag. But the last thing that goes in is some of this liquid Brazilian bait tech. That's my favourite one. They do Brazilian sweet corn as well, which works really well for me. But I had this coat my braid in it, like I said previously when I was talking about my rigs, just to take, I don't know, just give me a little bit of an edge. But this adds a little bit of stickiness to the ground bait, so a good couple of squirts of that in. Don't need a lot of it. Then the next thing I do is I'll start mixing it up. So before I add any water or anything, I'll stir it all round, and then what I do is I add the water to it gradually. What I want is I want a consistency where it's just binding together in my hands. So I'll show you exactly what I mean. Give it a good old mix. Make sure all the corners are done. I don't want no dry bits. If you get any dry bits in there, there's more chance of those balls that have got the dry bits in them breaking up. That looks absolutely on the money. So this is what you want. You want it to be able to bind together like that, and that's the perfect size. It's a little bit damp, but by the time I get around to catapulting it out, it would have dried off a little bit. What I will do is I'll mix a few of these up. I'm going to go with about a dozen of them. So I'll mix these up. I'm going to see how I feel. I tend to, with the amount of ground baiting I put in, I tend to follow my gut feel. So I'll mix these up and I'll get back to you, and I'll show you the last bit that I do. My balls mixed up. I don't know if you can see them there. I've gone with 14. I'm umming and ahhing. It's flat calm again today. I'm fishing just 15 rod lengths out. I'm in 15 foot of water. It's an old irrigation channel. I guess it's about probably about 5 meters wide, and it just goes from left to right, almost in a straight line. Either side of where I am, I've got about just over 14 foot. So I've got an extra, I would say 10 inches of water. Because it's an old irrigation channel, invariably it'll be silty. Now, that's where the spod over the top might come in, because it'll put a sprinkling out. I've had a feel out there with the lead, and it's not so soft as my ground mate's going to sink into the sill. It's quite firm, but what it will have is it'll have bloodworm in it. So this is what I do with my balls of ground bait. I just wet my hands in some water. I've got a bait box of water here, and I glaze them like this. So just puts a little coat on them, and I'll leave them to dry. And it just, I found, makes them stay together when I'm catapulting them out. Certainly if I'm at these sorts of distances. If I'm catapulting much past 10 rod lengths, it's a bit of pressure on the balls of ground bait, and you know, we've all been there. They break up on the way out, and you end up, what we used to call it in the old days, feeding the gudgeon line at the inside, the margins. I don't want to scatter of ground bait all over the place. So it's as simple as that. I mean, what's that taking me? 30 seconds. I'll leave them to dry. In the meantime, what I'll do is I'm going to get my marker rod out in a minute. And this is another thing as well. Warm your, this is one of these old Drennan, I mean, it's seen better days, but that's been with me 25 years, I reckon. I haven't had to change the elastic, because what I do is I warm the elastic up. I do this for about 30 seconds. There's two reasons behind that. Firstly, if there's any dryness in the elastic from the last time I've used it, it breaks that off. But the other thing it does, if you start catapulting out, by the time you've got to the fourth or fifth bowl, the elastic's warmed up and the ground bait starts going a little bit further. And you know, the last thing you want, if you think about it, if you was fishing in the margins on a pole or on a waggler, you want your ground bait all in the same spot. And then you want to put your float or your bait where the ground bait is. And sometimes when people feed a fish, they cast out and it might be 10 foot away, and they'll say, oh, that'll do. There's no such thing as that'll do. You've got to be dead eyeball accurate. And a few of the people who know me, they'll see me cast 3, 4, 5, 6 times sometimes, because if it's a couple of foot off, it's not in the right spot. And I think this is also important where I'm fishing 3 rods, and I'll have them 3 rods 6 foot apart. So I don't want one that's there in position A, and then one that's 2 foot away from it, and the other one that's 10 foot away from that. I want them 6 foot apart. If you've got 2 rods that are 10 foot, 2 foot apart, chances are you walk into a decent sized fish, tench, bream or a carp, you know what you're bringing in. You're bringing in that other line. 6 foot seems to be a decent distance where you can pretty much mostly, unless you get a really aggressive sideways take, you can pretty much get your fish in, get it up on the surface, and kite it round the other lines. You know, sometimes I'll drop the rod tip of the rod on the side of the landing net into the water, so I can get the fish over the top of it, because 2 o'clock in the morning, you're catching fish. Last thing you want to be doing is sitting there untangling an almighty bird's nest, and you end up having to recast all 3 rods, by which time you're wide awake. So anyway, I'm going to get the bait out now and I'll get back to you. Bit, as you can see, I basically mixed up everything. I mixed up in the bucket, in the bowls. I've glazed them like I always do, let them dry out in the sun. It just keeps them together a little bit better. And the ground bait that I'm going to use in my feeders is going to be a completely different mix. You don't want the molasses in the ground bait in the feeder, because it'll never come out. These balls are nice and hard. They're going to get down to the bottom of 24 foot of water without breaking up. More importantly, they're going to go through the air to my marker float, which is, as I say, 18 rod lengths out, hopefully, and be fairly accurate. You have to compensate when you've got a crosswind like this. You sort of kind of have to aim 5 or 6, 7, 8 yards to the right when it's going from right to left like this, because the wind will move the balls of ground bait in the air, and you have to allow for that. You can't be dead eyeball accurate when you're doing this, but as long as you're near enough, and I always say near enough isn't good enough, but yeah, you've got to try and do your best in these conditions. Hopefully with this chop on the water and the depth of water efficiently during the day. So I'm going to get these balls out and then get back to you with my rigs. See how we go. I'm going with 14 balls this week. I had 12 last week and 10 the week before. So again, I'm fishing in that same channel at 14 rod lengths. And I'm going to spread my bait out in a line, like 3 or 4 balls on each of the 3 rods. I've added a bit of extra to my bait this week. I've put a bit more sweet corn in, and I've also put up some crushed cell boilies. I'm kind of thinking, well, if there's carp about, hopefully that'll stop them in their tracks. It's only crushed up into almost powder, shavings and such like, but I might at some point, depending on if I see anything, any movement, I might put one of my rods onto a pellet, onto a boilie. Let's see how we go. Last ball. Not sure if you can see my marker float, just on the edge of the ripple. A few people have asked about pellets, how I shrink wrap them. So you can see I've got 3 on a baiting needle there. Bit of that called a shrink wrap around each one. And then if I can show you by the kettle, and I'll literally just a few seconds on each one, just like that, and there you have, ready to go. The thing is with these pellets like this is they won't dissolve. That shrink wrap just gives them that little bit of, I'm just going to turn the kettle off, filling my bivvy up with steam. Yeah, the thing with these pellets is in the summer they'll break down in 15 minutes, whether it's a krill pellet, doesn't matter what make they are, whether it's a halibut pellet or a fish meal pellet. Being just at 8mm ones, they do break down very quickly. Even this time of the year, they tend to last probably an hour at the most, and they start dissolving. And the problem for me is I don't want to be out there and have my rods out there for an hour and have to bring them in just to check to see if I've got any bait left. With this shrink wrap on them, that'll last probably the best part of 12 hours in the summer. You might end up with a sliver, but you'll still have something on there. It might have broken away a little bit. In the winter, 24 hours it'll sit out there, absolutely no problem. So I hope that makes sense. This is my rig, conventional feeder with a heavy lead on the bottom, 40 grams. The little bead that goes in the bottom of the feeder once I packed it with ground bait. And then this is a close-up. That's a size 8 dread and barbel hook, single Sonia bait krill pellet, and a bit of a bright pink pop-up. Simple as that. And that fish went 10-13, middle of the day. unbelievable when the water's so clear. I'll just show you. You can see that's just probably about 10-12 inches down, and you can see every stone on the bottom. Right, get the rods out, see what else is out there.